Res. Okay, where are we at? 59. Let's start.
Another gray suit flashes past the window on the 13th floor. One more sad life crashes, broken by the yearn for more and more. Another spin of the wheel, roll of the dice, or ace on the turn. Beg, borrow, or steal, or trade your soul for bands to burn. In God we trust, says on the bill. From boom to bust, may give a thrill. It can steal your life, dominate your goals, make a trouble and strife. Seek another soul, this little paper deity. Let's go and flash the plastic, blow it all on hot girls and wheels. Let's do something drastic. In the morning we'll never feel. Where were you on Black Wednesday? Stood for hours outside the Northern Rock. Still hungover from Tuesday. Must we take this banker's crock? In God we trust, says on the bill. From boom to bust, may give a thrill. It can steal your life, dominate your goals, make a trouble and strife. Knows another soul, this little paper deity. Says on the bill. From boom to bust, may give a thrill. It can steal your life, dominate your goals, make a trouble and strife. Seek another soul, this little paper deity.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show. I hope everybody is having a fantastic evening. It is 4 minutes past midnight here in Scotland. I hope everybody is having a great weekend. I've had a very busy week. In fact, it's been pretty mental, actually. I've had such a lot on. It's been quite crazy, but all is good here. I'm in good health, pretty much. My foot is recovering. It's just my knees that are constantly troubling me, but that's just kind of something I've had for decades, so I live with it. But yeah, foot is recovering very well. I'm mobile and I'm walking about and everything, so all is good. So what you were just listening to was the 2019 mix of my song Paper Deity from my EP Belonging to Tomorrow, which we've been doing a series on, which we're pretty much at the end of now. So if you want to go and watch it, if you've not seen it before, go ahead, go check it out on this channel, preferably after this show, you know. But yeah, so the series is, we've just done episode 9, where I compared my 2019 mix with my 2016 mix, and actually learned a lot. Just through doing that episode, I kind of learned. I went into it blind doing that episode. I basically just pulled in the old mix and put it up against the new mix and level matched it. And then I flipped. What you saw was me kind of learning as I went in that episode. So it was very, very informative and instructive for me. So I hope it was for you too. I'd be interested to see, actually, if you could just let me know in the chat how many of you have actually got the multitracks for Paper Deity and have actually done a mix or are going to do a mix of the song. Please do say so in the chat. Now, I've had a couple of people send me their mixes. They sent me SoundCloud links, which is great. I was hoping for a little bit more of a response. I was hoping that I'd maybe get several, and it would have made for much more of a feature. So maybe I'll extend that out for another week, seeing as this Thursday we're going to do the final episode 10 of the series, where we're going to master it. So that's going to be good. So you'll get to see, now that you've seen my mixing process a bit, you'll now get to see my mastering process and what I do. And actually, the fact that I've had a week away from the song altogether means I'm going to be able to do a fresh master of this song with a fresh perspective, which is going to be very cool. I'm really looking forward to doing that. Bobby Booth says he likes the 2019 mix that I did better, and he's working on his now. That's awesome. So yeah, if you've got the multitracks then and you've done a mix, then please do say so. If you are like Bobby and you're working on yours, that's great. Or if you haven't started yet, that's just as fine. If you've got them and you got the intention of doing it, that's great as well. But yeah, so please do, when you have actually done your mix, please do email a link to your mix. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear everybody's mixes, actually. That'd be very, very cool. Because that'll teach me a lot as well. That'll teach me about how different people have approached the same set of tracks, the same song. That'll be really fun. Mika, you are obviously excused, my friend, because you've been in hospital recovering from surgery, so you've had no time to try mixing it, and that's absolutely fine, buddy. But maybe, when you're a bit more fully recovered and you're able to get back into the studio, maybe go and do one. That'd be great. Yes, George, I have your mix, and I have listened to it, and actually, I really enjoyed listening to it. I really did. It was a really good mix. It was, you've taken it in a very interesting direction that I will definitely share next Sunday. We will definitely do a sharing Sunday, okay? So I'm going to give you a little bit more time to work on your mixes, and that'd be cool if we could get maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 mixes, and if you're happy for your mix to appear in next Sunday's show, then send me a link to it. Or even better, actually, rather than sending me a link, just email me the MP3 file direct. because then I can bring that into Studio One, and I can have everybody's mix lined up on Studio One in a fresh session, and I can level match them all, and that would just be a lot better, because then it's a level playing field. I'm not having to worry about different people's mixes being at different loudness levels. We can have everything nice and level, and everybody's mix is playing at the same loudness. That would be great if you could do that. Kirk says, working on my mix currently, have a few personal issues getting in the way, but should have a mix in the can soon. Awesome, that'd be great. Mika says, is it acceptable to change arrangement and some instrumentation? Kind of depends. The idea was to try and do a mix with what you get. That was kind of the idea. Now, I know, George, you took one or two liberties. You replaced my kick drum. Doing that kind of thing, that's fine. If you want to replace the drums, then go ahead. That's okay to do that. I don't have an issue with that. And I think, George, you might have thinned out the verse a little bit. I think you maybe dropped out one of my guitars for the verse. That kind of thing is okay. I don't mind you doing that, but kind of like it's not like it's a remix contest where you're able to kind of do your own version of my song. That wasn't really the intention. The intention was really for everybody to have a shot at mixing my song as it stands, really. Now, obviously, you might not like my kick drum. And if you don't like my kick drum, you want to replace my kick drum, that's cool. I'm absolutely fine with that. But stylistic changes, yeah, not quite so happy with that. Maybe later down the line, when my new EP comes out, maybe I will add in another one of my songs from Belonging to Tomorrow, and maybe I will give you I'll just give you the stems, the already realized mixed stems, and you can do a remix. You can do a dance remix if you want. You can do a reggae remix or something, or whatever you want to do. Maybe I'll add in one of my other songs and give you guys the chance to be really, really, really creative and inventive with the arrangement and that kind of thing. I could certainly do that. George says, I just added to your kick, not replaced. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I think it's you add what you added some punch to it. So certainly next week we will do a sharing show. And if you're happy to have your mix appear on the show, Mika, that's great, mate. Bobby says, right now having trouble separating the horns, keys, and guitars. Yeah, they're all kind of in the same frequency area, those three instrument types. I would recommend maybe the best way to do that is to hit the mono button, because those instruments will collapse in on top of each other, where they share the same frequency spectrum. And then the trick will be using some complementary EQ to get them apart. And if you do that in mono, and once you can hear them all clearly in mono, then you can hit the stereo button again, and hey presto, it should sound even better. Getting them separated in mono is such an effective tool for doing that. And eNice43 has just walked in. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for coming. I've not seen you in a good while, mate. And I really appreciate you being here. And I just realized I'm on top chat and not live chat, so I'm probably missing things here. Let's go up to the top. So let's actually go through a list of who's here, which I should have done at the start. But I didn't realize I was still in top chat mode rather than live chat, which is silly. So who have we got? We've got Bobby Booth, obviously I've just been talking about him. Kirk McWright is here. Ken Moss, he says, going to dinner with family, won't be able to watch live, but I'll listen on my way to work in the morning. Awesome. Well, if by the time you're listening to this, Ken, it is your morning time and you're on the way to work, have a great day at work, and I hope you find what you hear useful, and maybe if you get some time to actually sit down and watch it, that would be great. But thanks for dropping in all the same. Amika's saying he's home, and Da Capo Music Academy SA. I'm assuming that stands for South Africa. I could be wrong about that. He says, I'm here on standby. Awesome. Let's see who else we got. Decapo's loving the jazz. Well, that's cool. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Miko is experiencing some bad buffering. I hope that that's cleared now. I'm looking over to see what my values are, and I'm streaming at nearly 1200 kilobits per second, and we've got a green light, so we should be all right. And no drop frames, so you shouldn't be getting any now that I can deal with. Let's see. And I think I've got back down to the bottom. Let's see. David SJ is here. Yes, David, you are a first timer with me. You and I connected really, really fabulously. It was really great. Over on Dave, my good friend Dave Ignola's live show. Was that last night? Or was it the night before? No, it was last night, wasn't it? You and I hooked up there, and you became one of my subscribers, which is awesome. So I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. And I'm very glad that you're here. So that's very cool. I hope you find my show just as valuable as Dave's show. Dave and I are good mates. We go back, probably about 4 or 5 years now. And he's great. He's really, really entertaining, very, very knowledgeable. And he's a great mix engineer. And I consider him not just a friend, but, you know, a great colleague that I work with as well. If you didn't know, I have a couple of products that I made for Home Recording Made Easy, which was MIDI Drums Made Easy Volumes 1 and 2. Well, I am working on something else with Dave for another product that we're going to roll out to Home Recording Made Easy. It's because of my move and everything that took place last summer, everything's kind of got pushed back by a few months. So this little project has been put on the back burner, but rest assured, we will be rolling it out some point this year. Not quite sure when yet, but it will come out this year. And you'll have something fantastic and brand new and awesome to get your teeth into that hopefully will teach you a lot. That's the plan anyway. It's going to be bigger and better than MIDI drums. It's actually going to be different than MIDI drums. We're not looking at MIDI. This is a whole lot bigger than just MIDI. MIDI's great, but this is a whole lot bigger. So that's going to be very cool. And I'm looking forward to teaming up with Dave again to do that. Yes, last night it was, that's right. And Beatrice is here, my good friend. DDD Entertainment is here. And Lollipop Guild is here, awesome. And he says, hello Bob, long time no see. So cool, we have got 20 people here. So let's get into the meat and bones of tonight's show. If you're on my email list, hopefully you got my email spelling out for you what we're going to talk about tonight. But if you're not on my email list, then in the description box below, man, I've got a really itchy nose. Hang on. Sorry about that. That's really rude. In the description box below, there is a link to join my email list. Now, if you join my email list, you will get a couple of very cool things. You will get my 5-part video series on compression. And you will also get the multi-track files to another one of my songs from Belonging to Tomorrow, which is called Chanel. It's a nice little shuffle blues tune. So you can grab that and you can mix that to your heart's content. And like I said about Paper Deity, you can use that in your portfolio as well. So that's something else that you can just get your hands on. And if compression is something that you kind of struggle with, or maybe you're a seasoned veteran at compression, but you just want to learn it from a different perspective, those videos are great. Because then, I mean, you know, there's no YouTube ads and all of that to worry about. So you can play those from your computer at any time. So yeah, go ahead and grab those. They're free, absolutely free, just for joining my email list. So Deirdre says you are on episode 9. Yes, of the Paper Deity. Let me start that again. Of the Paper Deity series, yes, we have just done episode 9. Episode 9 is up on the channel already. That was done on Thursday. So we are coming up on episode 10, which will be the last one in this series. And if you guys have found this series really useful, I'll do another one using a different song. Okay? If you guys are up for that, then I will do that. I think that'd be pretty cool. You get to see me mix a completely different song. Just Bob says, don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, absolutely. I would appreciate that. We've got about 20 people here. If all 20 of you right now hit that like button, I will be very happy. Deirdre says, I'm struggling with myself every day. I struggle with myself every day too, my friend. In just a variety of ways I struggle with myself. So that's cool. So yes, what we're going to talk about tonight, because I mentioned my email list and I had said in the email what we were talking about. What we're talking about tonight is we are talking a little bit about Paper Deity and kind of mixing that afresh for the first time in nearly 3 years. Man, my nose is still itchy. Sorry, folks. I don't know why it's so itchy. But we're also going to talk about, and my good friend Brandon Alshouse, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the moderators over at the Persona Studio One group, and he's a great guy, great young mix engineer. He's also a mastering engineer. He's fantastic, and he posts really thought-provoking posts over on his personal Facebook page. And one of them was, I think he was actually quoting somebody else about being in control, having artistic control over your work. And, you know, kind of saying, this is my song. I'm going to do everything on it because, you know, I'm going to play all the instruments. I'm going to do all the singing. I'm going to mix it. I'm going to master it. I'm going to do everything myself because that way I have complete control over the whole thing, the whole product, and I can put it out, and you know it's my work and all of that. And I thought, you know what, that's really interesting because a lot of you guys, you know, you have home studios and you're churning out your own records. And it got me thinking about the fact that I've done a few records in my own studio where I have done most of the playing. I've written all the songs, I've done all the vocals, and I thought to myself, is that necessarily a healthy thing? Would I actually put out a much better product if I was to involve more people? So, you know, get some other session musicians in to do, you know, guitar solos, tenor sax solos, trumpet solos, you know, and play, you know, other guitar tracks that I can't play, for example. Or even writing with somebody else. You know, I for many years, I've had a long-standing songwriting partnership with a guy called Pete Harwood. He and I have written a lot of songs together over the years. We write for other artists and other musicians. And we've never actually made a record together. But, you know, we write together for other people. And so, you know, my last couple of albums have been songs that I've written myself, by myself, not in collaboration with somebody else. And I kind of thought, this got me thinking. Brandon really got me thinking about this. And thinking about, you know, do we actually hinder our creative success? Do we actually limit the range of our success by what we do, the fact that, you know, we just confine ourselves to, you know, these four walls and we do everything ourselves? Are we actually limiting our creativity? Are we actually limiting our success by doing that? And, you know, is there a lot more value to be had by working collaboratively with either other artists or session musicians, or writing with somebody else, or getting somebody else to mix our songs instead of us doing them? So that's kind of what I've been thinking about, and I thought, you know, I would share that with you guys, and, you know, chat away, post away in the chat your thoughts, what you think about that, and, you know, whether that's something that is you either agree with or you don't. My perspective, I think, for as much as I do a lot on my own, I have had a principle over the years. I've been a professional in the music industry for a lot of years, since the late 1980s. And in that, over those years, I've kind of like had one guiding principle, and that is this. If I can find somebody who can do something better than me, or who can do something I cannot do in the production process, I'll hire them. Pretty much. I mean, I've had Roger Key, who is a fantastic multi-instrumentalist, but he's a woodwind specialist. He's a terrific tenor sax player, and you heard him on the song that I played at the start tonight. That's him. He's fantastic. He's been a professional in the industry for 65 years, and he's a wonderful, wonderful saxophone player. And, I play alto sax, and, I could have just gone, stuff it, I will do my own sax solo, or I'll fake one using Presence XT or the Chris Hine horns or something like that. I'll fake a sax solo, and then I thought, no, actually, why do that when I can get somebody in who is a lot better at that kind of thing than me, who has a lot more experience improvising on a tenor saxophone than I have. My experience on saxophone is fairly limited. He has a lot of years behind him, and you can hear it in the way he plays. So so it was important for me to get him involved. On previous records, I've had different guitar players come in and do rhythm tracks, solo tracks. I've had Tim Rose. You probably don't know who Tim Rose is, but he's a guitarist, he's a bass player, he's a composer, he's an arranger. He works in the West End down in London a lot. He has worked with Toyah Willcox. He is mostly her bass player, mostly. He's a very good bass player as well. But Tim and I have known each other for, 30 years probably. And we grew up playing in the same youth big bands. And so, that's where we started working together. And I've played on his records over the years. He's played on mine. But, I mean, he's a wonderful guitar player. I have my Ibanez AGR 70 guitar. I can play enough to do guitar parts on my own records. But here's the difference. I play guitar. Tim is a guitarist. There's a distinct difference. The way he thinks about constructing a rhythm guitar track, is better than mine. So, a couple of records ago, that I did in 2012, I asked Tim, he was on the road. I said, Tim, I know you're on the road, but, could you do a couple of rhythm tracks on a couple of songs for me? And he said, okay, just send me, a mix down and, in Dropbox, and I'll see what I can come up with. And it's the first time I'd actually worked with Tim remotely. Normally we're in the same room together, so I can say, yeah, that's perfect. That's, or no, I'd rather we did it kind of like this. Maybe try this approach. So I didn't have any of that on that occasion in 2012. So he came in, or rather he sent in these tracks, and he said, I hope these are okay for you. And so I brought them into my session. At the time I was a Cubase guy, way back in 2012. And so I brought them into the Cubase session, and I hit play, and they were perfect. They're exactly what I wanted. And I hadn't really communicated very much to him. I just said, here's the song, here are the changes, come up with something funky. That's all I said. And what he came up with was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted, and more. He gave me like 2 or 3 different tracks to choose from. So, I literally put all 3 of his rhythm guitar tracks in the song, and, kind of panned them about and chopped them up and, gave each track their space and stuff. But it worked really, really well. There's somebody who is a terrific guitarist, and he did some solos on another one of my songs. And, he played again, I used his first take. He sent me 4 takes, I used the first one. And he came up with something that I hadn't really thought of that approach for that particular song. And it just worked really, really well. So had I done that, had I played the guitar solo, or had I played those, the rhythm tracks on that song, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as good. And the song probably would have, been less successful and would have sounded less good than if I hadn't had him. So never be afraid to replace yourself. That's kind of what I'm trying to say here. I replace myself all the time. My 2016 EP, Belonging to Tomorrow, I've been playing drums since I was 2 years old. I've been a professional drummer since I was about 15. I'm more than qualified to have played on my own record. I didn't. I hired somebody else who played better drum tracks, that did a better job than I did, than I could have. I did like mock-up drum parts, and I said, hey, do you want to try out on this guy called Dave, who I've worked with for a lot of years. I said, hey, you fancy trying out on a couple of these songs? He ended up playing on the whole record. He played on all 5 songs and did a wonderful job. And didn't mind the fact that I went for very, very minimal miking. You probably noticed that with the drums on Paper Deity. Basically, you just get a stereo track for the drums. But then if you isolate the drums, you'll find that it's not really a stereo track. They're in mono. Why is that? Because I recorded those drums with one mono overhead and a kick drum mic. I went for very minimal miking. So there you go. All right, let's get to your chat, and let's see what you guys are saying about this. Let's see what we got. David S.J. says, I just signed up and downloaded the files. Awesome. Yep, David is talking about my email list. There's a link. If you've not seen it, folks, there's a link in the description below. You can sign up to that, and you can get some other multi-tracks to mix. And you can get a video series on compression, which is cool as well. Dark Apple says, just adds different taste to the album or song. You had the same thought as me. Lollipop Girl says, there's science out there documenting that more diverse teams are better problem solvers and more efficient. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But you see, here's the thing. It takes humility for us to let go of our songs and entrust the creative process to somebody else with our songs that we have spent hours crafting. It takes humility to say, hey, I'm a professional piano player. I do piano solos, I do Fender Rhodes parts, I do Hammond organ parts professionally for people all around the world. I do it all the time. I do it every day. I could easily get other people into play. If I find somebody that can play a better piano part on one of my songs better than, and make it sound better than me, I'll hire them. So for my next record, that's exactly what I'm doing. I've already lined up a guest piano player who's going to play on, I think, at least one of the songs. And he's going to replace me entirely. I intend to not do very much playing on this record. I'll do all the lead vocals and I'll do some of the backing vocals, but I intend to do as little playing as possible, and I'm just going to get different people in and do it and make my record that way, which is an approach I used years ago. Years ago, when I had a bigger band, I had like 15 people in my band. I had a pool of musicians. I had a pool of about 20 or 30 musicians that I could draw from. And when I was making records back then, I would try different people out and on a set of songs. And this song isn't right for that drummer. I'll just get another drummer in to try out. And eventually, I'd end up with the right combination of musicians for a particular song. And I worked like that for a lot of years. But, now I'm here, and my 15-piece band is not a 15-piece band anymore. It's more like a quartet. due to various financial constraints in the music industry at the moment and in the entertainment business as a whole, had to downsize. So, there's kind of 4 of us now. But yeah. Just Bob says, maybe offer up an idea to pick 3 to 5 of us to write a song with. Now, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Like it, Just Bob. I will give that some thought. Dak Apple Music says, oh, by the way, Dak Apple Music, you're in Cape Town, South Africa. I love Cape Town. I have never been there, but I love it. I have friends that are there, and I keep on promising that I will go out one summer. So maybe I will. Dak Apple says, I can do everything, Johnny, but I put together a production team, and some of them are better than me in certain areas, and it works perfectly. Also, I get a lot more work done. Exactly. You do. You get a lot more done. You achieve more when you have other people around you. I think maybe 2001, I was part of a record company called Divine Music. And I think there were like 5 or 6 of us who were producers and mix engineers. And, we had maybe about 30 or 40 creative people that were involved in that. And we churned out 2 or 3 really, really good records. For about 3 or 4 years, we worked together. And we did just get a lot more done. Making records got a lot quicker when there were more of us involved in the creative process. We were all tasked with, hey, you're going to do those 2 songs, you're going to do those 2 songs, you're going to do those 2 songs. But we all played on each other's set of songs as well. So it made it really, really a very much a team effort. And I think the results speak for themselves. The songs were a lot better. And here's the thing, the records that we did, we had folks who were, they were kind of like young, new songwriters and artists who were not really getting exposure in the industry. Because back then, very hard, there was an internet, but not really an internet like we have now. And certainly there wasn't a YouTube, and there wasn't SoundCloud. None of that existed. So we were kind of trying to pioneer something that would help unknown artists get some exposure and, get known in the business a bit as a songwriter and as an artist. So, we helped build up their artist profiles and that kind of thing. So, we would work on each other's songs. But that was like, 15, 20 songwriters who basically entrusted their songs to us. And it really, really worked. They ended up with a version of their songs that was way better than they could have done if they were just sat in their little room like this doing their own thing. So that works really well. I'm missing chat because I'm not scrolling down it, sorry. Kirk McWright says, personally, in my humble opinion, I believe it can be a double-edged sword. Both avenues, with and without collaboration, may be necessary at different times. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my last EP, I had Dave Lightly on drums, who is my drummer on my last record as well. I had Gil Horn on bass, who was the original bass player in my much larger band. And then I had like other guest musicians, like Roger Key came on, and I had some other people come and do backing vocals. So, but I did most of it myself. I did most of the guitar work. I did most of the piano. I did all of the keyboard work, and I did the lead vocals. I also stacked backing vocals by myself, which, believe me, when you're working with complex jazz and R&B style harmonies, singing against yourself is hard. It really is. But, on the other hand, teaching somebody else to sing those harmony parts would have been probably harder. So I figured, rather than teaching other people to sing these really tricky and intricate harmony parts, why don't I just layer them up myself? Which is what I did. James Collier would have been impressed. Anyway, Oh, Amanda. Is that Amanda? I'm going to butcher your last name. I apologize. But you are new to my show. Welcome. Very, very, very welcome. You are indeed. Amanda Weiner? I don't know. Weiner? I really don't want to butcher your name. I'm really sorry. We're just live recording ideas in the music room, but oh, it just jumped. But want to go to the next level? Do you have stuff for beginners? I have a lot of stuff for beginners on my channel, and a lot of these shows are geared towards beginners and intermediates. But I don't want to exclude people that are advanced either. So yes. Lollipops Guild said Johnny Elder's great job explaining the intricacies involved. Yes, I do work very hard at making sure that all of my streams, all of my videos are beginner friendly. Even if I'm dealing with advanced or intermediate techniques, I try to make sure that beginners can kind of get a flavor of it as well. Amanda says, we're wanting to start recording direct, so no bleeding. How do we go direct as it is with effects, with microphones, with headphones, no mics? Okay. I'm not sure what you're saying there about no microphones. You're going to find doing vocals very hard without microphones. Let's see. But guitars you can definitely plug in direct, and I think Mike is my good friend, Mike Neighbor. Mike, good to see you, buddy. Always good to have you in my show. Mike is saying plug directly into the interface, your guitar, your bass, your keyboard. If recording a drum kit, if you're recording a live drum kit, bleed is a part of it, absolutely. Even if you have close mics on each of the individual drums and, overheads to catch the cymbals and a kick drum mic to get the kick drum, you're still going to get bleed. It's inevitable. That is just the way it is when you have lots of microphones over a drum set which has lots of constituent parts. That's just the way it is. You're actually Roger Weiner. Okay. Roger. Okay. Weiner. Okay, got it. Weiner. I'll try and do that. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, putting a question mark before, or a couple of question marks before, helps me kind of discern what's a question and what's just general chat. So Just Bob is absolutely correct. Bobby Booth is talking to David, I think. I'm trying to learn, but no teachers around here. I have to learn on my own, which is slow. Yeah, and that's kind of being in your own area and there are no teachers around in your locality. This is where the internet really comes into its own, because it really does shrink the world. 20 years ago, what we're doing now would have been unthinkable. It absolutely would have been unthinkable. Doing a live stream where I'm talking to a camera up on the top of my screen with a couple of really cheap lights from IKEA lighting my whole room. Broadcasting over the internet to potentially a lot of people. We've got 20 people in here, which is awesome. But potentially, could have hundreds or thousands of people in here. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? This would be unthinkable. So now we have access to people who have expertise all around the world. And then, of course, with the advent of things like file sharing, like WeTransfer or Dropbox or something like that, you can get people to work with you all over the world. I do it from here. I've just finished working on an album with a guy in Israel. How have I been doing that? Because I couldn't afford the flights to Israel. No, I work here. And I send my tracks via Dropbox. It's so easy in Studio One to send tracks off to somebody. You just create a shared folder. In fact, here, let me show you. If I press that button and do that. There we go. Yeah, let me show you how easy it is to do this. Let's go to the start page and let's get a new song up. Alrighty, let me show you just how easy this is. And we're going to wait for this to kind of open up. There we go. So in Dropbox, when you have Dropbox installed on your computer, it creates a local C drive folder. That C drive folder is also connected to the cloud-based server that Dropbox operates on. Now, when you create a folder that you share with somebody that is on that Dropbox server, it syncs automatically with the file, the folder, which is on your computer. Okay? So, for example, I have lots, as you can see, I have lots of folders for all sorts of folks that I have worked with in the last few years, working with this guy here, James Gittins. I've just done a couple of albums for him, and I'm doing some singles for him just now. Dave Ignola, I've been doing some stuff for as well. So, you know, there's plenty. I've also got this mock client folder, which I actually started using this for, you know, when I wanted to demonstrate how to do what I'm about to show you. So here's the thing, you know, let's say somebody asks you to do a guitar solo for them. Like, let's say I'm doing my EP and I say, hey, can you do a guitar solo on this particular track? I send you a stereo 2-track mix down, which I put in our shared folder, which is here. And then when it uploads to your local drive on your computer, you'd bring that into Studio One. I've already told you what the tempo is. Then you go and you do your guitar solo, you do maybe 4 or 5 takes, and you say, and so what you do, let's just say, let's just say this is one of the takes that you've done, for example. Okay. I mean, this would be how you would bring in the 2-track that you're going to play along to. You just drag it in directly into Studio One, you play your part, you do your takes, however many they are, and let's say, you know, hey, you know, for example, I've just nailed it on the first take. I love it. I just grab it and I drag it straight and direct into that folder. And there it goes. And now, as you can see, you can't see, but at the bottom of my screen here, Dropbox tells me it's syncing. It's uploading that to the server. Now, if you are sharing that folder, it will now be syncing with your computer. And then you open up your Studio One session, and there it is. Let's just get rid of that for a second. And you go, there it is. There's my Rhodes solo that I asked for. And you drag it in, and it's in your session. And it's as easy as that. It really is absolutely as easy as that to collaborate with somebody anywhere in the world. Let's remove that. And let's close this. No. There we go. And we're back to the Paper Deity mix. Oh, didn't want to press that button. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope I've explained myself. So that's the advantage that we have now with the internet, is that we can do that. We can just toss files back and forth, and I can work with a guy in Australia, I can work with a guy or a girl in Israel, I can work with somebody in Canada, this is how I work, folks. So anyway, let's go back and check what questions we have here. Lots of people are helping Roger, who is going by the name of Amanda at the moment. I presume that's a relative's YouTube channel that he's using. And a lot of you are talking to him and helping him out, which is awesome. Thanks, Mike, for pitching in and suggesting input levels and that kind of stuff. I appreciate that. And different types of mics that you can use. That's all cool. Dooley says, Dooley still is here. Good to see you. Oh, I smacked the mic. Good to see you, Dooley. You could compare drum tom bleed to string bleed on an acoustic guitar. A drum set could be thought of as one instrument as a guitar is. Absolutely. It is one instrument. Drum set is one instrument. It just has many different voices. Like a guitar has 6 strings on it. Some guitars have 7, some have 8, some have 12. Just like drum sets can be bigger or smaller. So yeah, drums is a single instrument. Let's see, what else we got? David SJ is talking to Lollipop Guild. I combine dynamics and condensers on my Focusrite 6i6 all the time without an issue. Yes. Yep. I'll use one of each of my guitar amp to get a stereo mix with only one pass. Yes, you could certainly do that. The thing you'd have to do is just make sure that those 2 mics are in phase with each other. And then you'd be good. And yes, using either a dynamic and a condenser or a dynamic and a ribbon mic is definitely a good way to cut a good guitar track in stereo. Yep, absolutely. Just Bob says, Amanda used Roger Wayner to explain her last name. Last name is pronounced Wayner. Gotcha. Okay, I now understand it. Sorry, folks, for being a little slow on that. Thank you for that. Okay, any more questions, folks? David says something that's very, very wise here. David says, drum bleed adds ambience to a mix if you do it right. Absolutely. Especially on a jazz track. You actually want plenty of bleed. If I'm recording a jazz record, I will do minimal miking, like I did for my EP in 2016. I had 2 mics. You could record drums with 1 mic. My good friend and colleague Graham Cochran has done that. He's recorded drums with 1 mic. Now, obviously, the issue with having fewer mics on a drum kit is that you have a lot less control over the levels and balances between the different parts of the drum set. That's a given. But a good drummer who has a lot of experience and a lot of skills will be able to balance the voices of the drum set with their playing technique and their musicianship and their professionality. So you can compensate for that way. And that way, even with just the 1 mic, you can still get a really good balance of the overall sound of the drum set. So for jazz records, I would record drums with 2, maybe 3 mics. I'd have maybe a pair of overheads and a kick drum mic. And I wouldn't necessarily always have close mics. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I wouldn't. I'd maybe have kick drum, then snare, top and bottom, and then overheads. And that would be really my minimal. That would be, a fair setup of microphones. But you can just do it with monomic, overhead, and kick drum, as I've demonstrated in Paper Deity and all the other songs off that EP. Using the same beautiful Ludwig 1964 classic, beautiful drum set. Let's see. Amanda asks, to share like you just showed, does each musician have to have PreSonus as well? We're looking to start recording ideas and sharing on a computer. You don't necessarily need to have, to all of you have Studio One. One of you could have Logic, one of you could have Reaper, one of you could have Pro Tools, one of you could have Studio One. To share the way that I've showed you it shouldn't make a difference what software you use. You will all have, if you decide, hey, we are all going to use Studio One, you will all have to each have your own license for Studio One. You can't share it. You can't share one license and have each have share that one license. You can't do that. That's a violation of the end user license agreement. So what you'd have to do is each have your own individual licenses for Studio One, if you want to go down that route. Or you could just say, hey, we'll just have whatever we prefer, whatever we find easiest to work with. You, Amanda, may well be absolutely fine in Studio One, but maybe your bass player prefers Logic, or maybe your guitar player prefers Pro Tools. Using Dropbox, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. How Dropbox can be integrated into the software is going to be a different thing. In Studio One, as you saw, it's very, very straightforward. You know, you open the Files tab in the browser section, and then you scroll down through your volumes, which are your drives. You open up C drive, you go down to the Dropbox folder, you open that up, and whomever you have shared folders with, they're all there. It's that easy in Studio One. But it might be different how that would then work in Logic or Pro Tools or Cubase or Reaper or, you know, whatever it is that you guys are all using. But in principle, if you have a Dropbox folder on each of your computers, and that folder is something that you all have shared access to, then you should easily be able to just import those to whatever DAW it is that you're using. It'll be, the methodology will just be different. That's all I'm saying, really. But it will work. Obviously, I would heartily recommend Studio One to everybody, and I do. I always talk about Studio One because it's fantastic. But I've not always been a Studio One user. In 2013, from 1980, whenever it was that version 1 of Cubase came out, I used that. I think it was 1988. I used Cubase all the way from 1988 up to 2013, and then I jumped ship from Cubase to Studio One. And I've been on Studio One ever since, and I have absolutely zero intention of going anywhere. So there you go. Let's see. Mika is talking about Logic, and it's Mac only. That is correct. You can't get Logic on a PC. Mike says Studio One Artist is only $100. Yes, it is. Now, if you're using Studio One just to share ideas and get the basic tracks sent around to each other, Studio One Artist is going to be perfect for you. There is I whistled, sorry. There is a free version of Studio One called Studio One Prime, which is great. Does not cost a penny. Doesn't cost a cent. Doesn't cost a single ruble. You can just download that free version, and it's there. And you can use that. Now, here's the caveat with this. With the free version is that you can't use third-party plugins. So, you could all have the free version of Studio One for doing your basic tracking. But then one of you who's going to be doing the mixing, I would recommend that they have Studio One Professional, because that would give them access to a whole lot more plugins that they can use for mixing. But yeah, so you can do that. Yeah, sibilance. I normally here's the thing, David. I normally don't have any sibilance because of the position of my top jaw. And the position of my top jaw and my front teeth and the length of my tongue. I have a ridiculously long tongue, so it kind of means that I don't have. I never use a de-esser on my vocals. I just don't, and I don't have one in now. But I inexplicably whistled then. I don't know where that came from, but there we go. Sorry, that was probably really quite a loud one as well. Let's see. Lollipop Guild says, it helps me remember things I've learned recently to recite them to someone else. Kirk McWright, most definitely. Yes. Okay. Google Studio One Prime. Yep, Mike, you're absolutely spot on. Studio One Prime is absolutely free. Doesn't cost a penny. Mika says anything saved with Studio One Professional will not migrate to Studio One Prime. That's not 100% true. But anything that you save in Studio One Professional that uses third-party plugins, the third-party plugins will not migrate. The raw audio tracks will, but third-party plugins won't. So if you send a session file to somebody, the actual Studio One song, and they don't have Studio One Professional, or they don't have access to third-party plugins because they're on Prime or Artist, then those plugins will just be what's the word I'm looking for? Darn it. They'll all be red, and you'll just get a box that comes up saying missing items, and there's nothing you can do about that. But you can send audio files to each other. Doesn't matter whether you're using Artist, Prime, or Professional. Actually sending the raw audio files you can do. Dooley still, that's hilarious. Andy Arthur is here. Good to see you, my good friend. How's things going? I hope business is good for you, my friend. I hope you're having a great weekend. Al Lindley is here. How can I get one-on-one training for Studio One? You can email me, my good friend. Email me at johnny@johnnylipsonstudios.co.uk. If you send an email to me there, and if you put in the subject box request for training for Studio One, and that you asked in this live stream, I will remember who you are. So yeah, drop me an email, and we will set something up. I definitely do online one-on-one training via Skype. So if you're up for that, we can do that. Just Bo says, I always thought your speak was detongued a little bit. I'm not sure what you mean there. If you mean, do I have a slight lisp? Yes, I do. I have had some voice coaching to try and eliminate it. It was a lot worse than it is now. It's still there. It's very slightly there. Low Ends Productions is here. Good to see you, my friend. And he says, do you convert your MIDI to audio before you mix it? I don't always. Because sometimes I forget to. But a lot of the times I do. When I'm happy with how MIDI sounds, a MIDI track that I do sounds, when I'm happy with the performance, I'm happy with how it works in the arrangement, I will bounce it. I don't even just do transform to audio. If I'm happy with it, I don't even do transform to audio because I don't need to do that because I'm not going to go back and I'm not going to go back and change anything. I'll just bounce it. And there it is, done. It's an audio track. And then the instrument is out of there. It's gone. Let's see. Andy says, just made a speaker sale a few minutes ago, sold 2 Air 12As and 1 AR8. Awesome. Good going, mate. I'm glad to hear that that's working for you. Hang on just a second. Please send me your email. My email is okay. Sorry, Al. I think I just broadcast your email to everybody. I do apologize. People look away, disregard Al's email address. Yeah, my email is johnny@johnnylipsonstudios.co.uk. I'll put it in the chat here. johnny@johnnylipsonstudios.co.uk. There you go. Yeah, so Al, email me. I'm going to delete your post because I'm sure you don't want to see that. I'm sure you don't want people to see that either. But yes, send an email to that email address there, Al, and I will get back to you. And I'd be happy to do some one-on-one training with you. But I'm sure you didn't really want to broadcast your email address to everybody. But that's cool. I'm happy with that. And I accidentally hit show when I meant to hit hide. Because hiding it would mean I was the only one that would see it. So sorry about that. My fault. Lollipop Guild says, I don't hear it at this end of the wireless. Thanks for that. Mika asks, do you know how to preserve automation during/after a convert to audio track? Thanks. I don't tend to automate MIDI parts. If I'm going to automate on something that is a VST, I will bounce the VST first. And then I'll do if it's volume automation, then I'll do the volume automation. If it is something like control things, like you've done a filter sweep or something like that, then that's going to be slightly different. You can actually do that in the music editor. There's like a whole bunch of tabs at the bottom. And if you've got them mapped into Studio One, then they should appear in those tabs at the bottom of the music editor. And you can just do you can do the automation there in the music editor, which is very, very cool. You can do them in freehand, you can do square wave, you can do sine waves, whatever you want to do on those particular elements of the MIDI track. So yeah, do those there if it's like control things like that. But if it's just volume automation, I don't do volume automation on MIDI tracks. I do that after, once I've bounced the track, and it's an audio track. But anyway, you've just retracted your message. And you got the CDL12 demo in a few. The CDL12 is an amazing speaker. Yeah, they are. They're really, really good. I'm very impressed with the CDL12s, actually. There's a church here in Edinburgh that has just got a whole set of them, and they sound amazing. They sound fantastic. Better than what they had before. Lollipop Guild says, seriously, I don't hear it. Are you using EQ to suppress it in the broadcast? No. I'm using the technique that I was taught by my voice coach to suppress it by myself. So yeah, I used to have a very bad lisp, but I had a lot of vocal coaching to deal with it. But yeah, it's there. My S's are softer than most people's, but that's not to say, it's massively obviously a lisp now, because I've worked very hard to kind of boil it down. Beatrice is saying good night. Good night, my dear friend. Good to see you. I did leave you a like, JL. Oh, awesome. Thank you. And I do actually have 20 likes. Thank you so much, guys. I have 20 likes. That's really great. Except we've got 26 people in the room. So if we've got 26 people watching, those other 6 people need to hit the like button as well. Please. That'd be very kind. Thank you. Bob Studios is here. Says, never hurts. I asked it twice. Okay. Not sure what that's referring to. You're talking about Slate. What would you guys choose for live drums? For mixing live drums with Slate. Good question, because I don't use Slate anymore. Dave Vignola, if you are watching, that might come as a shock. But yeah, I had all sorts of issues with Slate when I updated to their latest version of the VMR. It wiped out the VMR. The virtual mix rack, gone. And I can't get it back. And Slate aren't being particularly helpful. Amanda asks, how often do I do this? I do this particular show that you're watching right now every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, which means here in Edinburgh in Scotland, it's 1 a.m. No, it's not. It's midnight when I start. And then I finish around about 1 a.m. Let's see. Every Sunday, 6 p.m. Thank you, Just Bob, for confirming that. Jeff says, I liked it. Good. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. Let's see. Lollipop Kill says, okay, that explains it. Thank you. Good work. Yeah. I've had some vocal coaching to deal with it because it used to be really bad. And it's all to do with the position of my top jaw and the length of my tongue, basically. Now, I could have the top jaw reset. Yeah, don't fancy that because a lot of my job involves singing and talking. In fact, 90% of my job involves singing and talking. So having my top jaw reset would lose me a lot of work. So I don't do that. So perhaps run Drumagog. You know what? I don't even know what Drumagog is. Maybe I'm just an ignorant little Scot, but I don't even know what Drumagog is. But Slate does have something called SSD5, which is the latest incarnation of the Slate digital drums. They are well worth getting. There's even, I think, a free demo version of it that you can get. I don't know whether you can still get it, but you certainly could. Well worth checking out. Just Bob says on Wednesdays on JG's channel. Yes, over on the HST live streams channel, I do a show with our good friend Johnny Geib, which is called Songwriting Simplified, where we talk about all things songwriting related. It's 1:10 here, but I'm going to run just a little bit over, if you guys are okay with that. Andy Arthur recommends the Chad Smith drums. The SSD5 is really good. Some great sounds in there, and was only $49 a few days ago. Yeah, I think that period is coming to an end. I have a feeling it's going to go up to $149 or something like that. There's also, if you're like into rock kind of sounds, there's MT Power drums you can get as well, which I also believe is free. Well worth getting. Amanda says, I'm figuring out this process of recording more and more each day. I need all the help I can get, so I will be here on Sundays. Awesome. Well, we're very glad to have you. Absolutely, Amanda. And like I was saying earlier, to Al, feel free to email me at the same email address if you want one-to-one sessions. I do charge for my one-to-one sessions. That's the only caveat. But I'm a very reasonable guy. They're very reasonably priced, but I have to make a living at what I do here. So I don't give away too much for free. I do give some stuff away, like this show, for example. Every Sunday is absolutely free. I don't charge for this show at all, which is where things like the super chat really helps. So if you're inclined, if you like what I do on Sundays, please do hit the super chat button and throw a few dollars my way. I would appreciate it. But yeah, my one-on-one sessions I do charge for, but you get a lot because really my philosophy is about how valuable I can be to you and how I can kind of stretch like a rubber band, stretch out each dollar that you spend to make it as valuable as possible for you. So, yes, there you go. I hope that helps. David says, the free version is still available. Talking about SSD5. Comes with a pretty generic Pearl kit, but sounds pretty good. Yeah, it's actually, I think it's a Pearl Masters custom drum set, which I think is actually Steven's own drum set that you get, which is cool. Because I don't know how many of you actually know it, but he actually started out as a drummer. And just Bob with the first donation of the evening, with $5 donated. He says, great show. Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate anything you guys send my way. I really do. It makes being able to do my Sunday shows a lot easier. Because I got to pay the bills, I got to keep the lights on and update the RAM and stuff like that I need to do. Because I'm doing all of this on 8 gigs of RAM. I'm running Studio One, I'm running OBS, and I'm now having to run Google Chrome as well now because of the changes to the new streaming platform that they have. So I can't do it off my little laptop anymore. So there we go. All right, folks, I think we're coming to the end of the show here. Andy says, my appointment is here. So good to see you. Andy, thank you so much for dropping by. I really appreciate it. And I hope everything continues to go well for you with selling of Persona stuff. I'm very proud of you, my friend, for how far you've come in the time that I've known you. It's very, very cool indeed. Bob Studios says, I sing well. Would be shot in my sinus, and weird folks like my vocals. Okay. Yeah, I have a really high singing voice. I can go very high with my singing voice. Which, when you hear my speaking voice, it's kind of moderately pitched. But yeah, my speaking voice actually goes really crazy high. Just Bob says, with currency rate to equal 5 your money, what do we need? What do we need to send in us money? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying there, I'm afraid, Bob. Do you know what? I don't even know what the current exchange rate is between the dollar and the pound. Probably should know, but I don't. It would maybe help if I did know. I think they're not far away from parity. They kind of teeter heading towards parity. I don't think they're too far away. I think the last time I saw it, the pound was like I think it was like 70 or 80 cents. Or is that the euro? I can't remember. I think it was like £1 equals $1. $1.20 something. Currency rate to equal $5. I'm still missing what you're saying here, Bob, I'm afraid. Do you mean my currency, the pound, to equal $5? I don't know. I don't know what the exchange rate is at the moment. But $5 is $5, dude. I know that YouTube do take a wee bit out, but yeah, they only take a few cents out. David says $1 equals 77 pence. That would be, not cents, in UK currency. Okay, there you go. So $1 is 77p or 77 pence. Because we have pounds and pence. 100 pennies, 100 pence, pennies, pence in the pound is how our currency works. So as of right now. Okay, good. That's cool. All right, I really should keep an eye on these things a lot more often than I do. So $1 equals 77 pence. Okay, cool. I can't do the math on that right now because it's nearly 1:20 in the morning. All right, so I'm going to say a very, very big thank you, folks, for sticking around and for the great questions and the great chat. And to all the new people in here tonight, we had several new people in tonight. Thank you so much for coming to see my show for the first time. I appreciate it. And pretty much how the shows work are, as you've seen it, we kind of have a bit of a talking point or a subject, and then that kind of gets the ball rolling for questions afterwards. And, you can ask any questions about music production, recording, mixing, mastering, songwriting, arranging, composing, harmony, melody, rhythm, anything to do with making music. I'm happy to deal with questions on. And we go for around about an hour. We've kind of run over by about 20 minutes this week. Hey, doesn't bother me too terribly much. Okay, folks, so thank you so much for coming. And Just Bob, thank you for the $5 donation. I appreciate it very, very much. And I will see you all on Thursday. Keep an eye out on the channel because Thursday will be the final episode of the Paper Deity mixing series. Evan Ward, you're absolutely right. It's a fretless bass. If you're wondering why my jaw just kind of fell, my bottom jaw nearly completely dislocated there, it's because Bob Studios has just donated $50. That's phenomenal. That is incredibly generous. I don't know what to say. You've kind of stopped me mid-sentence. I don't know what to say. Man, that is so generous. Thank you so very, very much. David says, and he's speechless. Well, you know what, David? That's so rare for me. It is so rare for me to be speechless. I'm never speechless. I can usually talk until the cows come home, have a snooze, then go back out and chew some more cud and then come back in. And I'm still talking. So, everyone thought the stream froze. No, I froze. It was me. Tax write-off, says Bob. Thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate it. Bob says, please send an email. I don't have your email address, and but mine is in the chat. So if you want to scroll up to where mine is, drop me an email, and I will reply right away to you as soon as I can. Bear in mind, there's a time difference between me and Central Time, which is about 6 hours. So it may be a few hours before I get back to you, but I always promise everybody that I respond to their emails within 24 hours. Okay? So if you send me an email, I'll put it in again. I'll put my email address in the chat again. Johnny at Johnny Lipshaw Studios.co.uk. There you go. When you do live stuff, it's every Sunday, 6 p.m. Central Time. That's when I do my live stuff. Okay? So all you got to do is just remember that. If you're get yourself on my email list, it would be another thing I would suggest. The email list link is in the description below. We've already had a couple of sign-ups tonight. So yeah, just go and get into the get onto my email list, and I try and remember to send an email out like I did tonight. I sent an email out to everybody on the list I gave them the heads up of what we're doing in the show, so that you have like 2 or 3 hours to think about kind of the topic and any questions that might immediately kind of draw to mind, ready for the show, basically. So I try and remember to send something out. But yeah, if you get onto my email list, you get the heads up on videos that are coming out. You get the heads up on when my next live show is. You also get my compression series. You also get the multi-track files to Chanel to mix. You get a whole bunch of stuff. So go sign up, Bob Studios. I recommend it. I'm going to be doing a lot more with the email list. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a lot more that I will send out to only email list people and not to anybody else. So those kind of things are going to be special things that I do just for you guys. So get on the email list and keep an eye out for those kind of things. And with that, I really am going to go now because it's now 1:25 in the morning, and I have an early start tomorrow. I have to be down at my kids' primary school for 8 o'clock in the morning, so I really do need to get to bed. But thank you, everybody, so very much. Thank you, Bob Studios, for the phenomenal $50 donation, and Just Bob for the equally phenomenal $5 donation. I appreciate it so very, very much. And you guys are awesome, and a big welcome to all the new folks that are in for the first time tonight. And I will see you all on Thursday. Cheers for now. Good night.
Another gray suit flashes past the window on the 13th floor. One more sad life crashes, broken by the yearn for more and more. Another spin of the wheel.
Sorry about the crackles, folks. My CPU has just decided to spike on me. Good night.